If you have not guessed by now, this session is all about family. Not unlike our relationships with ourselves, which Liz talked about last night, relationships within our families can be challenging. Although God's initial design for the family has been broken by sin, family is still intended to be the fundamental community of faith, hope, and love. It's through our role in our families that we grow in gratitude, responsibility, like you saw in the game we just played, compassion, our ability to forgive, and to seek forgiveness. Our families give us our initial sense of identity, belonging, and security when lived out in the way God intended. When I was your age, I definitely didn't view family in that way, especially not when it came to my twin sister. We fought worse than any siblings I had ever seen fight, and we fought often. I was usually not the innocent one in those arguments. We always made up, and I still love her dearly. She loves me. If anybody knows me, I talk about her all the time. I'm the godmother to one of her baby boys. So thanks be to God, our relationship has been mended, but that doesn't change the fact that every time we had a bitter struggle, it left a scar on our family. It was painful for not only us, but it was painful for our parents. It was painful for our older sister, and it was painful for anybody else that may have witnessed our struggles. When I sat down to write this talk, I had actually just finished confession, and I was sitting in the church and just reflecting on the lessons that I have learned over time, reflected on the blessings that I had in my family and have had in my family that I took for granted when I was your age and even a little bit older into young adulthood. Realized that my family has made me exactly who I am, and they have given me more opportunities to experience God's love than I ever paid attention to when I was a teenager. Even though our family was flawed, I was able to experience the love and mercy of God, and you can too. The Bible is full of broken families. So when I had a struggle with my family, and sometimes when I still do, we fight, it's fine. I turn to the saints, especially St. Monica, and I turn to the Bible. St. Monica, if you aren't familiar with her, she had quite a few family struggles. She had a difficult mother-in-law, to say the least, a difficult husband, to put it gently. And her relationship with her son Augustine was extremely challenging. It's tough on a mother when your child is resistant to God and a relationship with God. But her husband was also a pagan, resistant to God, right up until almost the time that he died. So she lived her whole life with these difficult relationships, but she persevered. She persevered in prayer and unconditional love and forgiveness. In the prodigal son, we see a son approach his father and basically say, "You're dead to me." He approached his father and asked for his inheritance, which you get upon your parents' death. He went off, squandered his inheritance, and ended up living with the swine, which is, about as low as you can get, living with the swine. When he realized that he wanted to make a change, he asked his father to come back, if he could come back and be a slave in his house. But he did not honor his son's request. Instead, he brought him back as a full member of the family, honored him with a lavish banquet, to which his brother replied, "How can you do this? How can you just let him come back and have all this?" So you see in the Bible There's a lot of brokenness, more than just that story. But we can learn from it. Not learn that we can go and do whatever we want and then come crawling back later. Not learn that kids are always the cause of the family turmoil. That is so far from the truth. But what we can learn is that no matter what has been done in the past, no matter what the situation may currently be right now, there's always hope. There is hope that God can mend what is broken and restore what has been distorted. There's always hope. So if you let God into your family, there's no limits to what grace can flow from that. So what's our goal here? What are we trying to learn? What can Jesus tell us through his presence? He came to us in a family. Jesus did not have to come as a member of a family. He could have done whatever he wanted. He's God. But by coming to us as part of a family, he not only shows us how important and valuable family is, but he gives us some model to follow. We don't see a lot in the Bible about Jesus' childhood. We see one story in particular about his childhood. I think most of you are probably familiar with it. Your parents may have reminded you of this a time or two. But in the finding of the temple, after Jesus had been missing for 3 days, the end of the story says that Jesus went with Mary and Joseph and was obedient to them. And then he grew in wisdom and favor of the Lord. So there are fruits of your obedience to your parents. In the story at the wedding at Cana, Jesus was not a child. He was an adult at this time, but he cared for his mother's concerns. She was concerned about the wine running out. And Jesus may not have thought it was a big deal. He might have been like, fine, the wine's gone, it's whatever. But he took her concerns to heart. And not only did he act on those concerns, but he produced something that was even better than what they could have requested. In St. John's Gospel, as Jesus is on the cross, he gives his mother Mary to John as his mother. And he gives John to his mother as her son, showing us that it's not only blood, it's not only biological connections that make us family, but we belong to each other as a family. And some of you, and myself included, have members of your family that are, not blood related. But we're called to suffer together, experience joy together. We're called to have that same connection that we would have with our biological families. It's when you bear these burdens together that you can actually persevere and get through it. So now I just want to run through a few examples of how we can live as part of our families, but I challenge you to reflect on your specific family situation and how you can help foster a more holy family. Now, I don't want anybody in this room to think that the pressure is all on you. It is not. It's not all up to you to make your family work and to make your family be a solid model of a Christian family, but you can control yourself. You can control your behavior, and you can control your attitude towards your family. So that's what we're talking about today. Is you're not going to fix all your family's problems. I can't fix all my family's problems. We still have plenty of them. But you can fix you, and you can then hopefully bring that love into your family, and it can pay dividends for sure. So pay attention to the needs of your family members. Just like we see in the wedding at Cana, Mary had a need. Mary expressed a concern. Pay attention when your family members have a concern, and then do something that's within your power to help them. A lot of times there are problems within a family that you just can't help or fix. But to the extent that there are issues that you can help resolve, like step up, help them. When someone makes you angry or gets on your nerves, control your reaction. This was very hard for me. But sometimes you have to walk away and say a prayer. Pray for yourself, pray for them as well. Forgive, even if they're not sorry, even if they express no remorse. Forgive. Express sorrow, even if you're not the only one in the wrong, even if you can point out a million things that they did that drove you to your action, you still should express sorrow and remorse. Share your faith. Maybe you noticed something about your day where God was present to you, or you noticed God working in someone else's life and it inspired you. Share that with your family. Maybe you're at the dinner table, or maybe you're just in the car on the way home from school, on the way home from practice. Share that with them. Offer to lead prayer. If you pray before meals, which you should, but lead that prayer for your family. Or if you pray at night before everybody goes to bed, or if you pray in the morning before everybody departs for their day, you can offer to lead that prayer. If there's someone in your family who is not biologically related to you, for me, that is my stepson. Spend quality time with them. Let them know that you are just as important to, they are just as important to you as the rest of your family members. We're going to go to confession in a few minutes, in a little bit. This is a really good time. You're going to have a chance to examine your consciences. This is a really, really good time for you to really think about your role in your family